Hi, guys. Dr. Pam, owner and a founder of Academic Coaching for World Changers. We do what tutor to every exam. But did you know that I'm an LCSW? That is my heart and my soul. I got my LCSW in Florida many, many years ago. My kids will say when dinosaurs walked the land. That's not quite true, but definitely that is where my heart is. We tutor to the LCE, the NCE, the NHC, NCHMC, and all those other exams. So I really want to focus these last couple of videos just on my social workers. The exam is doable. I hear all the time that people struggle with the exam. I just want you to know that it's very doable and it has nothing to do with whether or not you're a good social worker or not. It has more to do with whether or not you're a good test taker. Okay. So hopefully you can see my question. In a sexual abuse group filled with clients from diverse ethnic backgrounds, the therapist notices superficial sharing and concludes that. Ooh, that's one of those one-line questions, and I hate those. Oh my gosh. I will take a paragraph all day, every day. I really will, because it gives me so much to work with. So all I know at this point, it's a sexual abuse group. It's diverse ethnic groups, and the therapist notices superficial sharing. Before I look at any of those answers, I'm kind of processing what I know. So the term homeo and heterogeneous come to mind. Homogeneous means that we all have a lot in common. Homogeneous groups we know develop cohesion easily, but I don't learn a lot about myself during those groups. A heterogeneous groups means that we don't have a lot in common, and it takes me longer to develop the cohesion part. However, I do know that I learn a lot more about myself. I love group, by the way. I love, love, love group. If we talk about any of our theories, remember the goal is it's very much leader led. In the beginning, everybody looks at me and talks to me and says, Dr. Pam, Dr. Pam, Dr. Pam, Dr. Pam. The person beside you could have asked the same question and you just didn't hear them, because in that first stages of group, you are terrified to say anything. But typically, when I get a question like this, I'm really focusing on the one line or the paragraph. I'm going to spend all of that time. They give me words. It says superficial sharing. If it's superficial, I know that they are not in cohesiveness. They are not in the performing stage that Tucker would say, right? They're not tight yet. They're in superficial sharing, and they're diverse ethnic backgrounds. Okay. So then I'm going to conclude what? So the way that I teach is we're always going to read all four questions. Don't make any decisions yet. Just read all four. A, clients have a varied cultural value about sharing, and the therapist must accept that group will not likely share at a deeper level. I don't know. The group may need more time to gel, since being comfortable in group with cultural or racial diversity may take time for trauma victims. So before I take anything else, I'm going to look at B, because there's nothing in this question about trauma victims, right? That B may be true, but I don't think that answers the question. But it does say in a sexual abuse group, right? I don't know. C, clients would likely to be more comfortable sharing with people from their own race, ethnicity. The therapist should refigure the group. Or D, members may be unsure how to relate in the group context, so the therapist shares information with the group on how to hold deeper discussions. Okay. I don't know what stage it is. Okay. But if they're sharing superficial information, I need to believe that we are not in the working stage, right? We're not tight yet, because we're still sharing superficial information. So if we go back through those theorists, and let me go back and kind of talk to you about those theorists. So when it comes to those theorists, remember, for my social workers, we have the Boston model. The Boston model says, first of all, we're going to do pre-affiliation. We're going to get to know each other. Power and control. We're struggling for attention. Members may vie with others for control of the group. Some members may feel they have more status and influence than other members of the group. What that looks like on a test question, my social workers, is it's a drug and alcohol group. And they're going, Dr. Pam, you've never done drugs. How do you know about this? Dr. Pam, Dr. Pam. A lot of resistance, a lot of picking on each other. That's a normal stage of group. Remember, it'll pass. It'll pass. It'll pass. Unless they're throwing chairs at each other, I have no reason to worry. Okay. The third stage of the Boston model is going to be intimacy, differentiation, and self and separation. Most of us, and this is a test question, so understanding where they line up, but many of us and most of the clients that I see have learned the Tuckman model. Okay. Tuckman is forming, storming, norming, performing, and then it's over, adjourning or mourning. So remember, the performing stage or the forming stage is going to be the same thing. If we go back, it's going to be the same thing as the pre-affiliation. I talk about a classroom. I've been a college professor for many years. And if you go back to that first day of your freshman college class, right? And you get to class and you know nobody. And you just get to class, you take your seat, and you're just looking at me. Dr. Pam, Dr. Pam, Dr. Pam, Dr. Pam. We're not sharing any secrets. I ask you to introduce yourself, and you say something very vague. Hi, I'm Susie, and I am a social work major. And you leave it at that. Okay. Power and control is going to be the same thing as the storming stage. What that looks like is they're fighting, they're jockeying for positions. If any of your main teachers made you go to an AA group, what you found in the storming stage is people are like, oh, you've never done drugs, have you? Why are you doing here? What are you here? On a test question, it may also look like, oh my gosh, Dr. Pam, Bobby said this and Sally said this. Remember the storming stage? I'm going to say, take it back to group. Bring it up next week. Because everything said in group stays in group with few exceptions. Okay. So storm is jockeying for positions. That's deciding where I'm going to sit. I'm going to get this class really early because I want to sit right here. After a while, though, what happens is we begin to norm. Now, in the beginning of every group or in the beginning of any class that I teach, I set the group rules. These are the rules. We won't use foul language. We'll turn our homework in on time. We will wait our turn, right? Whatever group rules you set up, those are the rules. But the norms are based on each group. Every group has different norms. So it's called intimacy in the Boston model. But Tuckman is what we normally use, or what I see, but I've seen both on the test. So norming is the routine. We know that Sally shows up late every week. We know that when Sally gets to class, she's going to bring popcorn and she's going to pop her popcorn and she's going to eat it during group. We know that Mary likes to knit. Okay. As long as the group doesn't mind, I don't mind. Every group has different norms. That's their routine. So I set the rules. I don't set the norms. Group members set the norms. And then we get to that performing stage. That's the same thing, of course, as differentiation, according to the Boston model. So differentiation means I'm good with me and I can be able to understand who you are. In differentiation, we're not going to fight. We can say, I like Trump and I don't like Trump. And there's no fight because we're tight. Someone can say, oh my gosh, Dr. Pam is the worst group leader ever. But one of the group members is going to say, oh no, that's not true. They're tight. They're tight. So if I go back to the question where it talks about superficial differences, I know that cannot be that stage because they're tight stages. We can agree to disagree and it not lead to a knockdown drag out. Okay. So then I remember that separation is going to do the same thing as that last stage of Tuckman, which is sometimes either called adjourning or mourning. So social workers, those are the two stages that you'll see, the two group theorists that you'll see. And it's really important to remember the stages of group. I love group. I love group. I love group. I love group. The test questions love group because I can get 8 people in that 90 minutes. That's standard for the test. 8 people in 90 minutes. And the insurance company makes lots of money. Okay. So it's economically feasible. I also like the fact that as we're going through and everybody's tight, I get to sit back and use more of that laissez-faire attitude, right? Laissez-faire is fairly lazy. However, if I'm a laissez-faire leader, I still know how to step up and say something. A laissez-faire leader gets to step back because the group's going to run without them. If you've ever been with me on my weekend groups, sometimes I'll take a weekend off, very rarely, but my groups still run the exact same way. And while it's an open group, we still have people coming in and going all the time, as opposed to a closed group, those couple of people. The open group, what we find is we get people that are with us probably for 2 or 3 months while they're studying for the test. So the norms have been formed. So in that kind of group, I can not show up. One of my other staff members show up, and the same thing's going to happen. Okay, that's why I like groups so much, right? Okay, so social workers, let's go back to my question. The question again was based on my 4 choices. What I do know is that it is a superficial group. They've all been in a sexual abuse group. Okay, and they're from diverse ethnic backgrounds. If you spend any time with any of my videos, I will remind you 1,000 times it's a reading test. When they give me all of these clues in the question, they're important. Every word in this question matters. So let's see what I can rule out. In a substance abuse group filled with clients from diverse ethnic groups, the therapist notices superficial sharing, and she concludes what? Okay. So members may be unsure how to relate to the group context. I'm going to say that's not true, because I go back to the question and it says it's a substance abuse group. You're in there. I'm sorry, a sexual abuse group. You're in there because you have been a victim or something related to sexual abuse. You know content. Okay. Clients have varied cultural values about sharing, and therefore the therapist must accept that they will likely not be sharing at a deeper level. I cannot assume that. I know there are diverse backgrounds. I know with diverse backgrounds, it may take longer. I know that some ethnicities aren't used to being in group, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. Likely not share. That's one of those words like, ooh, I don't know. It may take longer, but I'm not ready to give up on them yet. There's no research that says if I have a diverse group, they'll never get to cohesiveness. There's nowhere in research that it says that. So now I'm between B and C. The group may need more time to gel, since becoming comfortable in group with culture and racial diversity may take more time for trauma. Or C, clients would likely be more comfortable sharing with people from their own race, ethnicity, and I should reconfigure the group. I mentioned earlier, C, heterogeneous, homogeneous. Yes, if people are just like me, they look like me, they sound like me, we're in the same socioeconomic status, it is much easier. It is much easier. But in long term, that's not the best benefit. If I'm in a group where everybody looks like me, sounds like me, and agrees with me, I am not going to grow. The term microcosm, group is a microcosm of the bigger world, right? Everybody in the real world doesn't look and sound like me. They don't have my religious beliefs, my political beliefs. So the best answer for this one is B. Okay. So I will go back and share the explanation with you. The group may need some time to gel because being comfortable in group with racial or cultural diversity may take more time for trauma survivors. That is absolutely true. It is absolutely true. But this is one of those ones where I had to pick the 4. Out of the 4, what was the best? Many clients struggle with these things. Okay. I'm going to always rule out 2. There's no way. I'm going back to the question. If I haven't mentioned to you yet, guys, it's a reading test. It's a reading test. I'm going that one line. So I have to base it on that. Okay. So here's my rationale. In a group therapy context, particularly one involving sensitive topics like child abuse, sexual abuse, clients often require more time to develop trust and comfort with another. Cultural and racial diversities may add a different level of complexity, but remember, it's still the group process. Don't forget the group process when you're talking about racial and cultural diversity. Hope you found that helpful, guys. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, hit below, subscribe, and like. We try to release videos all the time. And if you're struggling with the test and you find that you really want some one-on-one time, reach out to us. Our email is below. Bye, guys.